15. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time to grow. Look at your other neighbor and say, neighbor, you've been where you are too long. Tap the person in front of you and say, neighbor, it's time to shift. You've been in first gear too long. The thought, come out of your dead situation. Come out of your dead situation. It is evident that the presence of God is absent in the lives of many people. I have learned that the absence of God is the ultimate expression of death. So even though one may appear to be alive on the outside, he or she can really be dead on the inside. I'm reminded of the old movie, The Living Dead, which was about people who were alive and walking, but in reality they were dead on the inside. Even though one may appear to be worshiping and praising God by the outward expression and depictions of worship, the truth is on the inside their praise is dead because it's more than a shout and dance to please God. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, if you're shouting but you are not living right, your praise is dead. I knew it was going to get kind of quiet. If you are shouting but still mean as the devil, your praise is dead. If you are shouting but you are still shacking up, stealing, cussing, plotting, won't love your wife, won't respect your husband, won't pay your tithe, won't visit the sick, won't pray without ceasing, your praise is dead. I wish I had just one witness in here from somebody who will declare that when God stepped in your life and renewed your mind, when God stepped in your life and put you on the street called straight, is there anybody in here who will declare that when you open up your mouth to give God praise, it's because when you look back over your life and you see where God brought you from, you want to give God an authentic praise from the depth of your soul. I heard Diana Ross say one day, I'm coming out and I want the world to know. I got to let it show. Grab your neighbor by the hand and say, neighbor, you no longer have to be bound. Slap your other neighbor and say, neighbor, come out of your dead situation. In this text, the plot unfolds, and as I attempted to properly exegete the text, I asked the who, what, where, when, and how questions of the text. As well, I had to ask for the condition of existence that was made evident by this text, and how does this text address that condition? In this text, we find that there is a scene in which this man, who was possessed by an evil spirit, had made his home in the cemetery. The text says that when Jesus came to the shore, the possessed man came out of the cemetery to meet Jesus. But before he gets to the point of meeting Jesus, the writer Mark makes it clear that this man lived among burial caves and could no longer be restrained even with a chain. The text said in verse 4 that whenever he was put into shackles, he would break loose and no one was strong enough to subdue him. Right there, as I meditated on this text, what God showed me right here was very profound, because what I have learned about people is that we want to be saved and we want salvation, but we want God to do all of the work. We want God to give us grace, which is unmerited favor, and we want him to bring it to us too. But in this text, this man who was bound and shackled in his circumstances had enough power to break free himself. Right there, somebody missed your shout cue, because whenever you find yourself bound